Story 1. I was about to be the first kid ever to undergo this experimental surgery. You can imagine the butterflies in my stomach. Walking into the operating room, my nerves hit the roof, especially when I spotted a crowd of medical students in the corner, all there to watch. They quickly ran through the pre-anesthetic checks and got my IV in. I practically begged the anesthesiologist, "Knock me out now, please." Thankfully, the surgery itself went smoothly, and I found myself in the ICU afterward. There, I had a conversation with a man in a surgical mask. He didn't have any updates on whether the surgery was a success, but his kindness and encouragement were palpable. He told me to keep fighting, to wait it out, and that I was destined to do incredible things. His words were a small comfort before I drifted off again. When I next opened my eyes, I saw something straight out of a movie. A towering figure, easily 7 feet tall, entered my room. He was carrying what looked like a syringe filled with glowing lava. Panic set in as I yelled, asking who he was and what he was doing. But he didn't say a word, just injected the fiery liquid into my IV. The sensation was like actual fire coursing through my veins, and I woke up screaming. Hovering above me were nurses, one ready with an AED machine and the other prepping an epinephrine shot. They were in shock, telling me, "You were dead, no pulse at all." Soon after, a crash team burst into the room, ready to jump into action. Apparently, they'd been delayed by a stuck elevator, which nearly tanked my survival odds. Confused and still reeling, I asked, "Where did he go? The guy who just gave me something through my IV?" But according to the nurses, it was just us in the room. No mysterious man, no syringe of lava. Whoever that man was, he wasn't part of my medical team. The nurses explained that I had just come out of surgery, and everyone was waiting for me to wake up when suddenly my vitals crashed and my heart stopped. All I know is, between the man in the mask, the towering figure with the syringe, and the nurse's quick actions, something beyond the ordinary happened to keep me here. And here I am, alive to tell the tale. This story was shared by Seth R. and happened in 2014. Story 2. It all started when my body went into extreme ketoacidosis, a condition I didn't know much about until it nearly cost me my life. One evening, out of nowhere, I began hyperventilating so severely that I couldn't stop. My amazing girlfriend, sensing the urgency, drove me to the nearest VA hospital, which was about a 45-minute drive from where we were. By the time we arrived, I was so out of it that I passed out right at the check-in desk. The doctors later explained to me that my hyperventilating was actually my body's desperate attempt to get rid of the excess carbon dioxide produced, as my internal organs began to dissolve from the ketoacidosis. It's a bit of a shocker to hear that most people can only expel about 40% of this gas, and often don't make it because of asphyxiation. Miraculously, I was expelling around 95% of it, which literally kept me alive long enough to receive immediate medical attention. Now here's where things get really out there. While my body was in this critical state, my consciousness embarked on what I can only describe as a cosmic journey. I found myself at the edge of what seemed like a black hole, surrounded by swirling gases and an accretion cloud, just like those scientifically accurate images you see. There was this invisible path leading into the black hole, and even though I knew it was a one-way trip, I felt an inexplicable pull towards it. As I stood there, contemplating my next move, I experienced what felt like a sudden download of universal knowledge into my brain. Every question I ever had was answered, and a profound sense of peace washed over me, erasing any anger and replacing it with pure happiness. It was in this moment of bliss that I felt someone beside me, an ancestral presence who revealed he was from a time far before anything I could comprehend, hinting at origins from the first colonists of Earth. This ancestor, clad in a suit that seemed both ancient and futuristic, explained he was here to guide me back because I wasn't meant to stay. He shared a cautionary tale about the potential fate of my physical body back on Earth, warning of the dangers of being used for military testing, or worse, being kept alive against my will for experiments. It was a chilling reminder to always seek to leave on my own terms. After what felt like an eternity, and a moment all at once, I woke up back in my body, 2 weeks after what the doctors called my temporary death. They managed to bring me back and stabilize my condition, but they told me it was as if my consciousness had been somewhere else entirely during that time. This experience has left me with a lot to ponder about life, the universe, and our place within it. It's a reminder of how fragile our existence is, and how there's so much more out there than we can even begin to understand. Thanks for sticking with me through this story. I hope it gives you as much to think about as it has given me. This story was shared by Robert R. and happened in 2008.
Story 3. About 4 years ago was a period filled with family drama and personal challenges, especially since I had been caught by my parents smoking marijuana a few months earlier. That incident sent my anxiety through the roof. Despite mending fences with my folks, who by the way decided I could only partake with them on weekends, my nerves were still a jangled mess. On this particular hot July evening, dehydration and poor nutrition, because who remembers to eat and drink properly when they're anxious, set the stage for something extraordinary. We were in the garage, just chilling and sharing a few hits, when suddenly the world around me faded to black. I didn't even realize I had passed out until I was somehow eerily observing everything from a distance. Through what felt like closed eyelids, I heard the panic-stricken voices of my parents shouting, "She's seizing!" And that's when things got really weird. I felt myself detached from my body, floating up to the ceiling of our living room, watching the scene below as if I were a spectator in my own life. There I was, lying on the couch, with my parents frantically trying to revive me. My stepdad's voice calling out Haley somehow morphed into Adam. And that's when the black tunnel appeared. This wasn't just any tunnel. Inside it played a montage of a life that wasn't mine, a man named Adam, complete with a family and a whole backstory I had no part in. Yet there I was, watching his life unfold as if it were a movie, feeling an inexplicable connection to this stranger. Waking up from this trance-like state, I couldn't help but laugh. It was, without a doubt, the most surreal experience I'd ever had. I felt an overwhelming sense of peace and comfort, as if being Adam for a brief moment was exactly where I was supposed to be. Sharing this with my parents, they brushed it off as a side effect of the high, but I knew better. That high had long since faded, leaving me in a state of clarity I couldn't shake. This experience has stayed with me, becoming a cornerstone of who I am today. It wasn't scary or unsettling. Rather, it was a glimpse into something beyond, something that made me feel connected to the universe in a way I'd never felt before. And you know what? I find myself longing to revisit that moment of peace and connection, to feel that profound sense of being part of something larger than myself. So there you have it, my extraordinary journey to the edge and back. It's shaped my perspective, my beliefs, and my approach to life in ways I'm still discovering. And while some might seek to explain it away, for me, it remains a cherished, transformative experience, one I wouldn't trade for the world. This story was shared by Haley O. and happened in 2020.
Story 4. It was the summer of '99, just a 17-year-old kid on summer break, thinking helping my mom's friend move from Virginia back to Oklahoma sounded like a grand adventure. Little did I know, it would turn into a journey far beyond anything I could have imagined, all thanks to a back injury and some prescribed pain meds that led me down a path to an accidental overdose. The next thing I knew, medics were at my side, urging me to drink this black liquid that turned out to be charcoal, aimed at neutralizing the drugs. Despite their efforts, I slipped away into what I can only describe as death. The details are fuzzy, but I was told later that I had to be brought back to life not once, but twice. The third time they had already called my time of death. Talk about a close call, right? But here's where it gets truly wild. I found myself alone in what felt like outer space, without a physical body, free to roam the universe with just a thought. I witnessed the birth of stars and planets, places I'd never even dreamed of, all while feeling an innate understanding of my surroundings. It was exhilarating, this sense of boundless exploration. Yet of all the wonders I saw, it was the sight of Earth, with its vibrant green trees that tugged at my heartstrings and made me yearn to return. And just like that, with a single thought of those trees, I was back in my body. Imagine my confusion when I came to, sitting in a courtyard next to my mom's friend and a stranger, dressed in clothes I didn't recognize, asking, "Which way is north?" Their puzzled looks said it all. Turns out I was in a mental hospital, a precaution to ensure I was okay after my little escapade. I had to spend the weekend there until a doctor could see me on Monday and give me the all clear. Reflecting on this experience, I can't help but feel it was unlike anything else I've ever encountered. Sure, I've dabbled in psychedelics like LSD and mushrooms, but those trips don't hold a candle to my near-death experience, NDE. The transition from floating above Earth to suddenly engaging in conversation back on the ground leaves me with more questions than answers about the mysteries of life and death. It's a journey I'll never forget, one that has left me with a profound sense of wonder and a deep appreciation for the simple beauty of our planet. This story was shared by Kelly B. and happened in 1999.